Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back, and I'm going to be working this game, Nemo Stars versus KVC, of course, with the DJ Moses. But it's a tight matchup here that we are having, an interesting game that we are hoping to see. KVC going up against Nemo Stars. We saw even in the first round, it was a very tight game that ended 3-2. And hopefully today Nemo can maybe break that and maybe push themselves. But also KVC being such an interesting team that pushes on and very aggressive and fights, I expect to see also a wonderful play from their side. But of course, usual starting lineup for KVC, we see, today Onapa is actually on court and not Rukundo Smith in the opposite. But Smith is going to be a receiver attacker. So we are having Innocent Ayo, Eddie, the setter, Bernard in the middle, Onapa in opposite. Tizo is going to be the libero today. Yes, and then Smith as well. Then on Nemo sides, JB is starting in as the setter. And then today we are seeing Esau on court as well, rather than Wandera, as we saw last weekend. And then George, of course, Redman and Ongom.
Of course, it's always very interesting to watch and, of course, enjoy this volleyball action when it always happens every Sunday. And already we are going to see really that this game is one of the fixtures that everyone has really been waiting for. But, of course, prior to this very, very game we are witnessing right now, there was a very contested fixture. Of course, that was the Serie B encounter between Tigers and, of course, St. Charles and Tinda, which, of course, St. Charles has come out victorious with 3-1. But, of course, our main focus as per now is this particular interesting game that we have before us. And KVC already 2 points on the scoreboard, and they already have an S to them.
Of course, George going into that service box, one of the best servers for the Nemo Stars side, and an experienced player like him, obviously, being the captain of this team as well. He contributes so much, and he has also contributed a lot, of course, to this volleyball fraternity of Uganda. But he's going to that service. And he just sends it out, unfortunately. Doesn't quite get the court on this one.
Of course, George, very much, we all know that he rarely serves in position 1, especially when he goes to that angle back there in position 5. He brings that ball direct to position 5. And now we are really surprised to see that he decides to go to position 1. And that's a service error, of course, onto his name. And, of course, for Nemo Stars already, that's an error.
Yes, a net touch from KVC, but you can see that set from JB was a little slow and late for Redman. And of course, we saw this last weekend as well when Nemo went up against KCCA and they lost to it 3-2. The middle sets are still a bit shaky for their side, but anyway, good pick. Play there, net touch from Nemo Stars. Today we are seeing Willington as well on court. We didn't see him last weekend. He came on in the last set, the 5th set, but the whole game we didn't see him get on court until that time. But today he's on, as well as Esau. So I'm thinking maybe they've met certain goals that the team required them to meet to be able to start in this game.
And, of course, for Nemo Stars, this very weekend we have seen also Smith there in the warm-up. Remember last weekend when they played KCCA, he was nowhere to be seen. We only had JB and, of course, the other setter, Benon, taking charge of the game. And, of course, unfortunately for them, they didn't win that game. KCCA came up victorious with 3-2. But, of course, today we see almost everyone for Nemo Stars really available. And, of course, Rukundo is very fast to swing on that ball. And, of course, JB being on a disadvantaged side to block him, he is already called on the net touch there by the second referee.
Yes, KVC having the service. It's a good service from Rukundo Smith. JB going for that dump. Ball is kept alive. Onapa from the backcourt. What a hit. Heavy hand from him. Down cross court in position 6 on the Nemo side. And we are going to see Onapa so much this game, going very high up there. Very high, almost above the block, and just taking that ball still inside the court. Wonderful play. KVC having a great start in this game. It's another beautiful service from Rukundo Smith. Esau going very high off the block of Christopher there and getting that wonderful side out for his team. Very early game, and like I mentioned, it's just really exciting to have such a matchup because even last season we saw these two teams going against each other in the playoff semi-finals where KVC managed to beat Nemo Stars, yet they had lost to Nemo Stars all the games in the first and second round of that season, even having their last game of that round against Nemo Stars and losing it 3-0, but then later coming in and just defeating Nemo Stars in both games, 2 games consecutively in the playoffs. But that's a beautiful swing from Innocent Ayo down the line, and KVC will be looking to really push themselves and get 3 points, because last weekend we saw them just dropping 3 points against Spotters, where they lost 3 sets to nothing.
And of course, they will be looking for maximum points in this particular game. And you can see already the setter there in Edmond looking for Ayo and knowing that he has a shorter block in JB. So most of the balls are going to be going to that position where JB will be blocking from, because we all know that he really can't block that much. But of course, he's always going to be having that support, especially when the service pressure comes onto the receivers of KVC. So JB will always have that backup from his middle players. Now, of course, you have Redman on front court and George Aporu.
A service from Wellington. Good pick. Innocent. Oh, from the backcourt, Rukundo Smith just shut down. Good eyes there from Redman. Just watching him closely and shutting that ball down.
Rukundo Smith, of course, previously we have seen him come on to play that opposite position to cover up for Napa. But of course, this time around, he's in the receiving position there with Innocent Ayo.
Tough pick, but the setter will go to Onapa. It's another hit down the line. Ball is kept alive. Good defense from Wellington. Oh, touch on the block. Tizo just watching that closely. Oh, net touch from Nemo Stars on that play, and KVC just taking that point away.
That net touch, of course, is called on George as he's trying to stop the setter there. But of course, brilliant play from the setter there to keep that ball in his side. He was really trying to set that ball, and George just unfortunately falls in the net and is called, of course, for that error.
Esau with a good pick this time. Oh, and then he just follows that hit, follows that perfect pass with such a wonderful hit from the pipe. Good play. And we haven't seen so much of Ongom in this first set so far with these points that we are having. And yet we've seen him being that go-to attacker for Nemo Stars in that opposite position. Bernard on that hit. That is a double touch as they try to get that set on. Now JB going into that service zone, also one of the best servers for Nemo Stars as a team. Oh, but this time it's an error from him, just sending that in the net, unfortunately.
Of course, both sides starting quite well, with Nemo chasing that 2-point lead, which they have already cut short to just 1 point with that error coming off JB, of course, the setter there for Nemo Stars. But it's going to be interesting because already the atmosphere here in the arena is already expectant of a very, very tight contest between these two sides. And of course, that ball is retrieved by of course Tizo, and Redman comes through the middle of the hands of Bernard and Onapa, and that is going to tally the scores to 9-9 for both teams.
It's a good set this time from JB to Redman, and he's able to get a quick swing. But good up there from Tizo on that line hit from George. Onapa, this time shut down by Redman and George on that block. Just no way through for him there.
It was quite a tight set, of course, for the setter there to try to look for his danger man, Onapa. Unfortunately, the long hands are there, of course, of Redman and Esau, and they bring him down. But, of course, the setter confirms again, and the free ball now goes to Nemo's side. George with a high set. Esau comes, and the ball is given back to Kavc-A. Ayo.
What a hit from Ayo. He just looks at that gap, and we can see Brian leaves just a little tiny space on his side in position 5, but Innocent Ayo just sending that ball in that little space. And I think today he could have a better game than he had last weekend against Sporters, because we saw he really struggled a little bit on his attack. But today he's just working very hard. Big block from Smith and Christopher. What a shutdown on the net from these two young men, just bringing that ball down onto the Nemo Stars side. And that is against Ongom, one of the best players for Nemo Stars at the moment. It's a good pick. JB, quick hit, quick set from Redman. Quick set to Redman, and he's able to just get that very fast swing down to position 1. What a play from him. And I think today the connection is there between him and JB, and we could see him going for those hits more and more.
Yeah, of course, if Nemo Stars can get this gentleman going really in the middle there, we don't really see so much of Wellington being given those balls, but for Redman, he is a player that you can't keep off that offense there. And of course, JB, to connect with him is something very, very good for Nemo Stars, because now that they need him so much. But look at Esau now going high, retrieved by Tizo. Edmond to set backward. Ayo brought down again. Ukundo swings, but it's brought down as well. Connecting block by, of course, Wellington and Ivan Ongom.
It's just a rally of blocks for Nemo Stars, just sending in those blocks one at a time, and finally able to shut down Smith on that attack.
And we have just seen Nemo Stars for the first time in this first set taking the lead. And of course now Kavc-A has to do a lot of work to find their rhythm again to go on top there. But Onapa is first to side out and forcing that net error from Esau. And of course Big Will, as we know him, Wellington. Onapa is on the service box for Team Kavc-A, who are really having a very nice jersey today. Red, of course, their colors, and it really looks nice on them. But of course, for Nemo Stars, that service error from Onapa keeps them on the lead, and we have now Ivan Ongom going to the service box. Good jump service from Ivan Ongom. Onapa from the backward line. Very, very thunderous spike from Onapa. What a good set from the setter there. And of course, a good jump and leap from Onapa. Very interesting volleyball we are witnessing here at the MTN Arena in Lugogo. 13-13 is the score. But of course, JB is first to look for Esau, who kills it off. And of course, Nemo Stars still maintaining that 1-point lead. And Esau is now back court, of course, doing the service, and of course on front court we are going to see George Aporu. Ayo Onapa from the backcourt line again. Very good swing, and that is going to be one of the key players we are going to be looking out today in this particular fixture, because especially on that backcourt attack.
Beautiful play there from Nemo Stars. But both sides really just pushing themselves. Now KVC being forced to call a timeout. We saw them having a very good start, but as we get on into the late game, it just gets very, very intense for both sides. And we can see their coaches just talking to those players to see how they can maybe get a quick side out. But I think Onapa is really doing wonderfully, getting comfortable in that position of his and pushing himself to play.
Of course, key talking points for KVC there. When they call for that timeout, really they need to gather themselves again back together to see that they maybe catch up, because the lead was theirs to really hold, and now they lost it. Nemo Stars has taken advantage of that, of course, and now they are on the lead with 2 points.
Service from Wellington. It's a good serve, good pick as well. Oh, another wonderful hit down the line. Innocent Ayo knows that he's having JB blocking him on that net, and he's just taking advantage of that, sending those balls hard on the line.
Yeah, and of course for Ayo, Innocent there is going to keep telling the setter to maybe reach that ball towards the antenna there so that he can really go to the line. But look at that block from Innocent Ayo. But the refs are going to call for a net touch. Oh my.
What a block from Innocent. I didn't see a net touch, but I think there could have been a slight touch there. But beautiful waiting. He just closes that ball, and there's just no way through for Ngom. But this time, KVC just comes back with an answer, sending that ball with a heavy hand back to Nemo Stars. And now Innocent Ayo is going into the service box, and he's also a very good server, very strategic, and I think he could be able to push his team in that service box as well. But he chooses to go for the jump service and not the float. Tough pick for Brian. George, this time able to get that point on the line, sending it very hard and quick before the block could just close it down.
Of course, with the experience he has, he knows and is always aware of the court he is playing on. And of course, you can see he is able to get that tight angle through the line. And of course, Tizo, being the libero in that position, is not able to keep the ball in play. And for Nemo Stars now, maintaining this 2-point lead matters to them more than it matters to any other person right now.
Oh, Redman just waiting on that net for that overpass and sending it back down. KVC is having a hard time on this serve-receive part. The passing is not going well for them. They're struggling a little bit, and I think that is what is giving Nemo Stars that advantage, because they're not able to run their middles, and they're just only running their outside. They're two. Onapa sending that ball down. Beautiful swing from him. Tough pick for Nemo Stars on that defense. They try to keep the ball on their side, but Onapa just waiting on that net to send it back. Service from Bernard. This ball will go to Esau, going high up, and just able to get that touch on the blockers. And Esau is one of those youngsters, very, very high jumper, very aggressive. He's just there to score, to just get his blocks in, get those attacks in. That is why he's there on that court. Oh, beautiful defense from George Aporu. Again, Esau going very high up, but that's a good block touch for KVC. And now Onapa. Oh, ball is still alive. Still fighting for it. Angle he's looking for, but it's a beautiful rally. Great defenses there from George in position 6. And now KVC getting that point off an error from Esau. But credit to George for that beautiful defense in 6.
Yeah, he's really having a lot of commitment in terms of that defense there in the backcourt line, and you can see most of the balls really going into that position in 6, and George alone is going to be doing most of the work there to defend, and it has already played out for Nemo Stars. Unfortunately for them, of course, Esau going so high and trying to go cross court is not able to find that angle, and now this is Onapa from the backcourt line, but the ball is still in play though, and again the setter will go for Napa again. Very good score from Onapa, and a very good play, of course, from Team KVC. 19-20 are the scores. And of course, Nemo Stars is going to call for that timeout, because now the pressure from KVC is starting to bite, and just within 1 point, of course, we shall be level here. But of course, for the talking points, Coach Tom Amou, of course, and Coach Okap is there for Team Nemo Stars, having a discussion with the players there, 1 word or 2 to maybe push them further and motivate them the more in this very particular first set. And so you can see as well on your screen, Endra Joel there, also one of the veteran players for KVC, also acting as the assistant coach for KVC, but a player as well, also trying to motivate his troops and of course push them on.
Substitution for Team KVC. And of course, Crispus coming on for Onapa. And usually a double substitution is intended for defense, for net defense, to get the setter out and get in a slightly higher blocker. But also it is meant for offense, because the setter needs to get 3 attackers on that front court. Yes, and thank you to Collins for watching, saying love the commentary. Thank you so much for tuning in. For those who are watching online as well. Esau, very high, able to just get that swing off the block and getting a block touch on Smith.
For KVC, they will really be looking to see how the double sub plays out, but of course the coach is fast to reverse that double.
Yes, but substitution for Team Nemo Stars, we see Smith coming on. It's also a double substitution. Smith has come on for Onapa, and now JB has come on for, Smith comes on for Ngom.
Ivan, yeah.
Yeah, and then Fahad is on for JB.
quite surprising there to see Fahad come on for, of course, the setter there.
I think that is also what I talked about earlier, the block. Smith, good play. Very high send for Onapa. KVC reversed their double substitution. What a play from George through the backcourt. Nemo Stars looking very, very beautiful to take this set away with just 3 points to go. Avalo Caroline online says, today's games were just a thriller for volleyball. Big up to UVF. You should be proud with volleyball clubs because the competition is stiff and fun. Yes, we had some wonderful games today. Since morning, all games have been really interesting and tight. Oh, Smith looking for the hands there, but he doesn't quite get any. He just misses. Big miss. And now Kavc is going to call a timeout.
That is, of course, a good push from Nemo Stars to pull that lead there. Now 23 points for them and 19 just for KVC. Going into that second timeout, of course, Joel Endra, you can see him on your screen, really trying to emphasize to his teammates and, of course, his players there, the need for them to really side out and maybe catch up with the Nemo Stars, of course, here who are on the driving seat. But as well, the talks continue for both teams. Coach Okap is there talking to, of course, the Libero there as well. So Nemo Stars have Esau, Willington and Fahad on front court. And of course for KVC, they're just having 2 attackers on front court with a setter as well. Nicely picked by Rukundo. To Rukundo off the hands of Esau. Very good attack from him.
He just went for those hands on that hit and he's able to get them. I think he didn't even think about it. He didn't want to go to the space. He was just looking to get a point because he had one blocker going up, but he chooses to just take it off the hands. Tough pick for George, but Smith will go to him. What a hit from the pipe. Today we are seeing George going through the pipe more and more than we saw him. I think Nemo Stars just wants to have a mix-up in their strategy, but also Smith is having Fahad as the receiver attacker in front of him, and he just chooses to look for George. But it is set point for Nemo Stars. Oh, smart play. Good eyes.
Ayo.
Yeah, very good eyes from Innocent Ayo, just watching that space and sending that ball with a simple touch. Substitution for KVC. Christopher just going off, and Joel Endra is on for service.
Of course, he's one of those players on that KVC side who have a very good and tactical service. Whenever he's on that service box, he really makes the opponent receivers have a tough time there. But Esau is good to pick that ball and goes to Fahad. Retrieved again by, of course, Endra. And off the hands, Ayo again uses the brains and is able to get that ball and a point for KAVC.
Again, service from Endra. And you see, this is why the substitution was made, to bring in a very strategic server. And KVC has definitely closed that gap. And this is why I usually say it's just not over for this game. It's not over until it's basically over. Very, very much an overreach there from Smith. And now Nemo Stars is calling a timeout. They just wanted or needed that 1 point. But KVC has managed to make 3 points since. And they are still pushing on.
Yeah, of course, now the pressure is piling on the Nemo Stars side with, of course, Joel Endra doing the damage in the service. And you can see on your screen there, the supporters of KAVC really are in the house and they're trying to rally their team on. of course, those are the scenes we are always witnessing inside the arena. You could have just seen that game that ended between Tigers and St. Charles. The fans were always in high spirits, and of course, that swing from George is able to bring us to the climax of this first set, and Nemo Stars are having just a set advantage onto their name. Nemo Stars is chasing down a lead, of course, that KVC had already established in the early stages of the set. But towards the end of it all, the gentlemen, of course, in the red and black jerseys in KAVC failed to maintain that lead, and Nemo Stars were able to pick up those pieces and take this first set. And of course, all of you that are joining us online, thank you for rallying in your team, and of course, sending in your comments as well. We see you, Kovsinje Sheila. You're saying, let's go Nemo Stars. Guma Mariam, you're saying, Nemo Stars, New Jersey, please. Okay, Chichoncho, me, I'm here to support my brother, Christopher. And of course, Mugabe Roel, you're saying, I'm thinking we may go for a decisive. Well, the game is just one set done. And of course, looking at the team stats, you can see that Nemo Stars were 2 sets on attack. They were 2 more better than KAVC, and on the blocks they were 2 more still better than KAVC. KAVC just had 1S, which was earlier on established in the beginning points of the game there. And of course, looking at the error margin there, Nemo Stars just having 1 more than KAVC. And of course, this summarizes just what has transpired in this first set here. And of course, Nemo Stars now go on to set number 2 with an advantage of 1 set. For KVC, they will need to really bounce back in high gear, and of course see to it that maybe they can bounce back and win the next set. Let us return for the second set.
Set two underway with Nemo having taken that first set, of course, and starting out with the first point here of the set. Ayo! Down the line once again, but that ball doesn't quite get onto the court. It's just out.
Innocent Ayo, of course, enjoys going down the line there, but this time around he doesn't get that angle he was looking for. And of course, JB being the one in cover was able to quickly move away from that ball, and of course, it adds on the tally of scores for Nemo Stars. Those big hands from Ivan Ongom and Redman, of course, Bernard Malinga there, combining to bring Innocent Ayo down again.
George still on service.
And again, big hands from Redman and of course Ivan Ongom. And they come together to shut down Chris there in the middle. And of course now the blocking party for Nemo Stars is on, and they are already on the lead with 4 points to nothing for KAVC.
Good pick from Smith this time. Oh, net touch from Redman as he tries to solve that ball.
Of course, KVC have managed to get George off the service box because he's one of those good servers that Nemo Stars have on court, and every time he goes there, at least he has to make a point or two, and of course also push his team to try to defend.
Oh, what a hit from Ongom on that play. Beautiful swing. We didn't see so much of Ongom in that first set. We saw a lot of George and somehow Esau and Redman as well. But this set, I think the setter intends to get him going to just have so many options. Redman also one of the good servers for Nemo Stars. But it's a good pick from Ayo. Onapa! Shut down! And that ball just lands on court. Nemo Stars having just a blocking party at the start of this set. Those are 3 blocks for them so far in the 6 points that they have. Yes, but that block was really, really a beautiful one on Onapa.
Of course, Onapa trying to prove to the ref that the ball was really blocked out, but of course the second ref is always there on the watch, and he was able to quickly signal to the first ref that the ball was on court.
Another service error from Redman. This time doesn't make it over onto the other side, giving KVC that much needed side out. Now Onapa going on that service. Onapa these days just chooses to go for the jump service rather than the float that he used to do, and he's still going to go for that jump service. It's set for Wellington, but KVC able to just make that defense. Oh, tough pick for Tizo. Beautiful hit from Esau. KVC just unable to keep that in play.
But of course, for the players of KAVC, that they wished maybe there was some more space inside the arena. Maybe they could have retrieved that ball back into play. But of course, very unfortunate for them. They are trailing with, of course, 5 points.
And ace service from Ongom. Jump service, meanwhile, what a serve. It just stops right onto the court of KVC. Look at that. Tizo just trying to pick it from the side, but I think he left just a little part of his body there and he couldn't sit into it to keep it in play. KVC now calling a very early timeout, their first timeout of this second set. service error this time from Innocent Ayo.
Nemo Stars so far keeping that 5-point lead going, and of course for KVC they need to find a way to narrow it down as we progress in this second set. Esau is on the service line and just gets that S.
Yes, and of course online, thank you Belinda for watching. She says bravo S team, Mose and Shamira, you're loud and clear. May the best team win. Thank you Belinda for tuning in and watching this game from wherever you are as well. But what an ace service for Nemo Stars. This time Eddie sending that ball quickly. Ongom tries to go down the line but just misses quite a bit on that hit. It's a 5-point lead for Nemo Stars. Very, very early game that we are having here. And we've seen KVC in their previous games still pushing and trying to make those comebacks.
Yeah, because you could see on the faces of the Nemo Stars players that they are quite having smiles there. Maybe they are really enjoying themselves. And for George having that swing, but very tight for him, that ball is off.
Yes, George doesn't quite get the hands on that hit. And I think he was trying to go on the line, but didn't really make it there.
So substitution is going to be made by, of course, the coach of KAVC, and we're going to see Crispus being introduced in position of Eddie, the other setter who started the game. Bernard George again to go, and off the hands. No one to make efforts to try to keep that ball in play, and smart play from him, of course, and that maintains the 5-point lead for Nemo Stars. Big Will, of course, as we know him in the volleyball circles, but he's called Willington. He is on the service box for Team Nemo Stars. Nicely picked by Tizo. Crispus goes to Rukundo. Off the hands of JP. No one to support him there. Redman just not even joining, but also not doing much to keep that ball in play. This is Crispus for KAVC now to serve.
Oh, it's an ace service for Crispus. And that's a rare error from Brian, by the way. He's that libero with a very good reception. Very rare error from him. You can see that smile on his face, just wondering what happened on that play.
I think his posture there was not quite well, and was not able to direct that ball back to JB, and just forces an S.
Oh, quick set on the pipe for Esau. George makes that perfect reception, and JB just finding Esau to send it very, very hard on the KVC side. But Esau is that one player who will get those swings in from the back court, from the front court. And he's a very young guy, just still having some time to play. Wonderful hit from Rukundo Smith with one block there, very late block as well. He's able to just swing fast and get a beautiful hit. We take a look again. Look at that. Redman was a bit late, and George as well, and not timing that jump.
Good pick from Brian. Redman from the middle. Nice touch from, of course, Tizo, the libero of KAVC today. And, of course, no one on his team is able to support him, but quite a very, very tight one for him. But nicely touched by, of course, Tizo.
Oh, what a swing
Bounce
from
down.
Christopher. He just sends that to Spike down. What a play. Very quick, very fast. It's just a heavy ball for the first time in this game. He's just made a statement with that hit.
Yes, and of course against who? Guess it's Redman, and that's quite a very, very heavy hit onto the ground from Christopher there. Nicely set by, of course, Crispus, and now Chris is going to be on the service box for KAVC.
And there was a change that came in from KVC's side. We see Bernard has been substituted off from the middle.
And of course, we are going to see Jacob Olila, one of the veteran players for KAVC there, who has been not really a regular face in volleyball this past month, but now we are going to see him coming through the middle there. And now that miscued attack from Mukundo from the backcourt line doesn't earn anything for his team. And
Yes.
of course, Nemo Stars continue with their lead.
And he didn't even quite get any fingers, of course, to next round, and now losing this one as well. But I keep mentioning how he serves for Nemo Stars, trying to float that ball. Heavy-handed spike.
Of course, if you're a player who is having that high reach and that high jump in SAU, and you get only one blocker, a short blocker in Crispus, what would you want him to do? Of course, he had to just hit that ball and just leave a mark there on the floor.
Oh, tough pick. The referee, it's a double touch on the setter on that call. Of course, the first referee being Malek Calvin, a national referee, very experienced referee as well. Timeout for KVC. This is their second timeout. They called their first timeout when they were at 2 points and Nemo Stars at 8. And now Nemo Stars having a 7-point lead. KVC being forced to call that second timeout. From Ongom, and this time it is George sending that ball down.
Of course, for Nemo Stars, they are really looking so comfortable and so good to win this second set as well, with that 7-point lead.
Oh, it's another hit from Willington, also sending that to Spike down. First big swing we are getting from him as well in this set. Beautiful play from him. I think somehow this is intended to reduce that passing pressure on George as well. Yeah.
But of course, now for KAVC, things don't really look to be going that direction, as Nemo Stars just with that big block from Redman, from the backcourt line, just needing on from the backcourt line, just needing on.
Of course, that's the third set just underway already with KVC having that lead 3-1, 3-2. Very interesting game we are having here. And I mentioned there in the comments that we were trying to work on that network issue, and hopefully you guys can hear us and are able to watch the game as well. Sorry about that network trouble that we had earlier on. Of course, being here all day recording since morning comes with a few disadvantages at times, and that is one of them. But we've been able to sort it out. Service error from Onapa. He tries to go for that jump service. Service. It's a service error from Christopher. Just barely makes it to the net. The setter going to Endra, and this time Endra just squeezing through that tiny gap on Willington's left hand and able to find that court.
Of course, KVC going into set number 3 and starting with the high gear, and of course you can see Endra starting this set as well. But of course for Nemo Stars, swings, and of course from Esau there, Onapa off the hands, but the ball is still in play. Willington, now free ball. Oh my god, you couldn't expect that play, especially from Esau, and that point goes to KVC.
The backcourt. What a play from Endra with that with his foot, but there's just not a quick play on the net to keep it alive. But a big hit from George on the pipe. Nemo Stars is really going to that pipe a lot. Even with Esau, even with George, they are just getting that pipe going, and we are not seeing a lot of Ongom as the opposite player. Whoa! Big hit down the line, but it's kept alive. George saving it this time, still able to find the court, and finally Nemo Stars just catching up on those points. But there's just been a difference between the Nemo Stars we are seeing here today and the Nemo Stars we saw going up against KCCA. I think they've really tried to push themselves, wanting these 3 points from this game.
Of course, for the coaches there, every game is a learning point in terms of correcting the errors, and just that big block from George and big wheel there to bring down on Napa from the backcourt line. Of course, now that pushes Nemo to the lead in this third set. But of course, talking about Nemo Stars being really determined to win this particular game, there is always history between these two sides, and whenever there is this fixture, a lot is expected, especially from the fans, and you know this is a fixture that no one wants to really miss. And of course, that is what Nemo Stars is trying to prove here to KVC. But of course, KVC is still holding on that pressure, and we are level at 7-7. Jacob Olila on the service box, and he just errors as well from the service. and he is quick to acknowledge his mistake and apologize, of course, to his teammates by raising his hand there. Very, very good player there that KAVC has had in Jacob Olila in the past years. Good pick from Kasuja. Innocent Ayo brought down again, an emergency set. Joel setting up on Napa from the back line. Retrieved by Redman. George goes up and off the hands. Very good score for Nemo Stars, who have now hit 9 points, and no answer from KAVC, who are still stuck at 7.
Yes, Nemo Stars really pushing themselves to see how to get. Oh, very lucky serve for Wellington. Ace service. What a beautiful play from him.
And now we are going to just go in for our first time out, called in by team KAVC, and you can see the talking continues, especially from the coach there. And for Nemo Stars, they are just looking to maintain that lead they have already established here and see to it that they walk away with maximum points, and of course with a 3-0 set thriller. But of course we can't rule out the fact that KAVC can make a comeback in this encounter. But for now, Nemo Stars are on the driving seat with that lead of 3 points.
Wellington with the service. Big hit there from Nemo Stars. Oh, this time, Innocent Ayo, but that ball is kept alive. What a play from George, but that's a good defense from Onapa, and then Endra errors as he tries to send that ball over. Unfortunately, unable to just make it. Oh, and this time, Endra sending that ball on the line, but he seems to have gotten a slight issue there, and his teammates just checking on him to see if he's okay. Seems to be with his foot in that play.
But of course he's back on his feet and hopefully he is fine there. But of course he's headed for the service line there, and we believe he is okay. And of course we continue to emphasize the safety of players, especially when we are having these games here, and we don't want to really go into that situation where we get to see a player sidelined for a long period of time. But luckily enough, we are able to maintain Ayo on court.
Yes, but that's a wonderful hit from Onapa, and KVC just able to take that point. Good pick from Brian Redman. I think JB was trying to connect that ball, but there's some miscommunication on the side of KVC as they try to all go for that ball, and then it just becomes a free point for KVC, for Nemo Stars continuing to push their lead.
Malay there, that ball doesn't go through, and that is a point for KAVC, and they have closed in on the gap that Nemo Stars had set here, and now we are level at 13 all.
Yes, and the question here, where did Jacob KVC go? He's actually on court in the middle. He came in for Bernard. Good pick from George. Oh, quick set through the middle. Big hit from Redman. And Ayo, you can see he was just in position but wasn't able to pick that up.
And of course, for the online supporters there, I think for Jacob, they are used to seeing him playing outside as a receiver, but he is now playing in the middle for KAVC. Maybe that's why people are really not seeing him. And of course, he has also not been in action for quite a long period of time. He's just making his return back into this very, very game and in this second round.
Onapa shut down, and I almost thought there that he could go with one block, but then both blockers just going there for him and shutting him down. And you know, Nemo Stars is just enjoying this game because their net defense has been working out for them.
Yeah, that's true. And of course, now again, after catching up, of course, KAVC are starting to lose concentration there, and you can see Nemo Stars already at 15 and KVC sitting at 13. Edmond goes to Endra. Very nicely done and very nicely placed there. And no one just playing that ball behind the blockers there. JB, of course, being one of the first players to reach there, but not quite able to keep that ball in play. And this third set really is looking to be a tight one. JB goes for Esau, and he sends that ball wide. And we are level again.
Yes, and sometimes I would say that's a rare error from Esau because he's that high jumper who tends to play the ball, sending it back down on court, but being unable to just put that on, such an error from him. Oh, but there is another service error from Onapa. But I think we are into the most important part of the game, and we don't see Tizo on court this time. I think he's off as a libero. But KVC is really still pushing themselves for this set. But that is another service error this time as well from Mongom, and their back level 16-16. The game is just getting more challenging and more competitive for both sides. It's a wonderful play from Wellington through the middle. And he's going back into that service because Redman coming onto the front court is a huge advantage for Nemo Stars as they are into this part of the set of the game, because they would really want to go away with just 3 clean points. Good pick from Mendra. The setter, oh, shut down. This is what I was talking about. Redman just coming into that front court and starting on with a big block on Innocent Ayew. And then this is what has given Nemo Stars the game. Their net defense, those blocks just continuing to get in there, shut down the hard attacks from KVC. But it's not been the same for the KVC side. They've really struggled on their net defense, and then their play has not been as what we saw that time. And it's now another ace service for Wellington. He sends that in the corner to position 5, and I think that was just misread by KVC.
Of course, Nemo Stars just nearing the end of the set with just that need of 5 points. And for KVC, they have always chased down the lead and caught up. But I don't really want anything to go wrong for Nemo Stars in this particular lead that they have already set up here. Imagine set for George Wellington and all the empty space.
Clean point. It's just clean.
Very smart play.
And he didn't actually hit very hard. It was just a little bit of tough defense for KVC. Now KVC calling that timeout, and Nemo Stars just looking for 4 points to take this set. But like I mentioned, KVC is the team that tends to catch up in such moments. But I want to see what they can do after that timeout, because with the way Nemo Stars is playing, they are seemingly just going very hard, and they just want this game to go their way with a 3-0 clean victory. Especially, like I mentioned, having lost to KCCA last weekend 3-2, dropping those 2 points. They would really want to just have a win here, because even in the first round they dropped 2 points to KVC as well. They dropped a point, sorry. They dropped 1 point. Oh, wonderful hit from Onapa. You can see he's still just in this game. He's one player that will not give up until it's over.
Eddie now on the service box, of course, for KFVC, and that gives KFVC, of course, 3 attackers on front court. Nicely done, but of course not a good play from the Nemo Stars there in terms of passing. They're struggling to find their setter JB, who is not quite that tall. Of course, KAVC able to just add another point onto their tally. But of course, I want to agree with Katongole Stanley. You're saying that Malinga is having a good game today in terms of his attacks and blocks. And this is what Shamrai talked earlier on about his connecting with, of course, the setter JB there. Today really seems to be a very, very good position of play for him. And of course, his net defense has really worked in favor of Nemo Stars here. And they are progressing slowly, of course, to the end of the set. And of course, maybe walking away with a clean 3-0 and of course 3 points as well.
Yeah, what a play there from Esau, going very high up and sending that dump so hard the other side. JB onto that service box, sending that very hard. Tough pick for the libero. The setter will try to force it to Indra behind there. But this time, Esau once again from the back row, but this time missing the court in position 5. KVC has really tried to close that 4-point gap to 20. Just 2 points now. Looking for 2 now to see how they can be able to push. Substitution coming in, and Crispus is going onto the court for Eddie, the setter. I feel this is a substitution because Crispus has slightly more experience in playing than Eddie, and maybe the coach is just bringing him on to see how he can play against that Nemo Stars block. Oh, big block against Redman. Well done from Christopher. But George with that quick hit in position 2 on the right side there, just sending that ball very quickly before Endra can technically get his hands up. And of course, Nemo Stars looking for just 2 points to end this set. I think this is where the tensions just get really, really high. Oh, Onapa sending that dump, but he's blocked. It's a free ball for Nemo Stars, and it's a chance for them. Going to George on the backcourt. The libero caught in motion, and that ball just landing down there. It's match point for Nemo Stars, and if they do get this point, it's just going to be a clean 3-0 victory for them.
I think there was a deflection off the hands of Chris there on the block, and that's why the libero was not in position to stay and maybe play that ball, because he had already read the direction of the ball. But that slight deflection off the hands of the blockers there quite didn't work for him there. And now Nemo Stars just in search of that 1 point.
Yes,
and this is a preview.
I actually thought we could be just getting to the end of this game, but Esau just misses the court on that hit.
And he is smiling there, you know that he didn't really expect to put it that wide. He had really ended up this game for us today, but of course that match point is saved by Kavc.
Christopher, of course, back into that service, this time correcting his previous error. But that is the game, ladies and gentlemen, and it's just been ended by George Aporu, the captain of his team. Nemo Stars just ending this game with a clean 3-0 victory. They've had an amazing evening, coming in with those impressive swings, big attacks from the attackers, big blocks on the net, great services, just putting that pressure on the Kavc side. And I think they've enjoyed themselves so much in this game. And it's also to make a statement that they are still there, despite that loss of KCCA, that they are still the Nemo Stars that maybe their fans know and enjoy. But hard luck to Kavc. I think Kavc is a team that continues to fight, but just a few errors from themselves is what tends to cost them their games. But I think it's been impressive watching this game and working with the DJ as well.
But of course, summary of the statistics there of the third set, Nemo Stars coming out strong with 3 sets and just nothing for Kavc. 15 attacks for Nemo Stars, 1 better than Kavc. And the blocks, of course, we have seen a lot of the blocks coming through from Redman. There are 2 against just 0 in this third set, and of course even the services there, the aces from Wellington, 2, and Kavc just had no answer for that, and the error margin just 1 separating both sides. But of course, a big victory for Nemo Stars, and of course the fans are going to really go home and of course sleep well, because their team in Nemo Stars has walked away with a clean victory and 3 points for them this weekend.
Yes, but that's been the weekend, ladies and gentlemen, and as usual, we shall see you next weekend at Zambia Sports Arena on Saturday and Lugogo MTN Arena on Sunday. Thank you so much for those that have watched with us since morning all day. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for Moses for being on today. And yes, Valo Caroline says good night, Moses and Shamira. Well done today. Thank you so much, Caro, for tuning in as well today and watching with us. What a lovely weekend it's been. Amazing victories for some teams, and hard luck to those that were unable to make it. But I think that is it for today, really.
Yeah, that is really it, and we have of course come to the climax of the broadcast. And of course to you, Shamira, thank you very much for being here with me. And of course, from all of us here at the Sports Volleyball Club media page, we are saying good night.